What's up, Bulls Nation? It's the Bloody Horns podcast. I'm your host, Justin. Let's get into it, man. It's the day before a trade deadline. And what is it that Pete's girl says in that newest Spider-Man movie? If you expect disappointment, then you can never be let down. Some shit like that. Some basic new age girl bullshit like that. But that's kind of the expectations we should have as Bulls fans going into the trade deadline tomorrow. Last night when we were getting blown out by like 25, maybe it gave you some hope. Like, hey, This wouldn't be a bad way for this era to end. This could open some eyes, get the Bulls to make some moves. Then, we were the Chicago Bulls. We made a comeback when nobody expected us to make a comeback. Now, the caveat should be the Minnesota Timberwolves. They are famous for dropping big leads this year, for coming out of the third quarter slow, for just choking down the stretch. Their fourth quarter offense is abysmal this year. As all you guys know, I live in Minnesota. I had my Wolves friends chirping at me the whole first half. One of them at halftime, I told him, I was like, hey, we made a comeback from 30 against the Kings the other night, so don't be surprised if this second half gets a little close. And he was like, yeah, you're right. I mean, the Timberwolves, we do give it up, so I won't be surprised if it gets close. Then he texted me after. He was like, motherfucker, I knew this was going to happen. So it's not that it wasn't an impressive win. It's just that it's very predictable from both the Bulls side and the Timberwolves side. I feel like neither fan base was really that shocked by what happened last night. But either way, you know the front office is going to use last night to say, hey, if we play like this every night, we can contend with the best teams in the league, blah, blah, blah. And so don't be too shocked if they sit on their hands tomorrow like they have the last two trade deadlines. Make this a third trade deadline in a row. They do nothing, and then they go on the buyout market. They bring in Kyle Lowry or some bullshit that's really not going to affect the season at all. My standpoint is, regardless of what the Chicago Bulls do, whether they make moves or they don't make moves, my standpoint is they are still going to make the play-in tournament as a 10 seed at worst. You look at the Nets. They're 3-4 games behind the Bulls right now. They seem to be getting worse as the season goes on. Regardless of whatever moves they make tomorrow, I don't think they really get that much better. If anything, they're just going to bottom out and get worse. The Raptors, the Bulls are like 7 games up on them. I don't understand how Scotty Barnes made the All-Star game. Like, yeah, his numbers are nice, but his team is 17-34. They have twice as many losses as wins. That's not an All-Star in my eyes. Kobe should have got that spot if we're being real, but so you look at the Eastern Conference standings, and I just don't see a way that the Bulls drop out of the play-in spot. Even if they trade DeMar DeRozan, they trade Alex Caruso, big pieces, they trade Andre Drummond, big pieces, big minutes, big guys who play big roles here. I think, that would open up more room for Kobe to cook, for Ayo to cook. If we get Patrick Williams back at any point, he could cook a little bit more. Vooch is going to get his 18 points on 20 shots. So I feel like the Bulls, they could pick up the slack, and they're not going to be bad enough to drop all the way down to 11. So regardless of what moves they make, I feel like they are still locked into that playing spot. Even if they go the opposite way, and let's say they trade Patrick Williams, or they somehow do that Pistons trade with Zach LaVine, they bring in pieces that can actually help this year, I still don't think it makes them good enough to catch up to the Magic for that 8 spot, or the Heat for that 7 spot, or get into the top 6. The top 6 in the East is pretty locked down. So my expectations going in tomorrow, they're at a 0. I said in the video yesterday, if they can get off Alex Caruso, I'll be happy. What did I say? I said it could be Alex Caruso's last game in a Bulls uniform. Could have been DeMar DeRozan's last game in a Bulls uniform. Could have been Andre Drummond's last game in a Bulls uniform. If there's a God in heaven, it was Javon Carter's last game in a Bulls uniform. He was fucking abysmal last night. If that God is a merciful God, it'll be Nikola Vucevic's last game in a Bulls uniform. And I still believe that. I just don't think there's any chance in hell of it happening. So I see a lot of people, they're wondering, what are we going to do tomorrow? I would say just bet on continuity, guys. Do what AK is doing. Bet on continuity. Don't get your hopes up too much. But if you guys aren't hitting subscribe on this page, please do. Trying to grow this YouTube thing a little bit more. If you're not following on social media, same handle on all of them, at Horns Bloody, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. I'll probably drop a podcast tomorrow night, just recapping the trade deadline league-wide. So be on the lookout for that. Take it easy, Bulls Nation. We got the Memphis Grizzlies tomorrow. That'll be a typical Bulls game.